Yeah, this is studio number 2, known as the Deuce, at a secret location, 50 feet underground bunker. There's a few paintings here, some stuff in progress. Almost all my work has layers of collage, which is designed to replicate the organic accumulation of posters on the streets that are ripped away. You know, as a street artist, I always enjoyed that chaos that comes from stuff deteriorating, people ripping at it, people graffitiing on top of it. So I wanted to bring that feel into some of my work in the studio and find a tension between things that are very graphic and you know, and resolved with things that have a painterly looseness, a chaos, an organic side. So you can see how a lot of that textured paper, that collage is woven into these fine art pieces, which are a combination of stenciling, traditional painting, screen printing, and collage. Sometimes it gets very meta, you know, where there's graphic collage mixed with real collage. You, the viewer, must use your discerning eye to distinguish between the two. Like a ton of different collage and printed and stenciled stuff, and since we have the laser cutter, you know, there can be relief on elements of the stencil. This is all cut, and it's you know, an actual stencil glued down. I cut all the illustrations that are things like this, other than, you know, like this small oil rig, which I did digitally out of rubylith. So, you know, I just cut this as a one color and then mask this out, but all this stuff translates really well to stenciling and screen printing because it's done with flat color. But then I have a lot of leeway for, you know, building in these subtleties in.
That's my number right there.
Yeah, there you go. H-43.
That's right. Do you like how it makes the song into the video?
Oh yeah, I really like, you know, I like that song a lot.
Do you? Oh, cool.
Yeah. And you know, these are screen prints on top of collage backgrounds. You know, so there's the screen printed version, which is obviously less expensive than the painting, which, you know, here's the painting of that same image.
Yeah.
Where, you know, this is all done with stencil and collage, but then these elements from, it's all a collaboration with this photographer, Steve Shapiro, who shot a ton of civil rights stuff. And it's John Lewis in '63 when he was only about 24 years old. Wow. 23, 24.
And it's crazy that this was happening back. This is from back then, or
no,
this
is now. So same photographer. So what I'm trying to do is show the connection between,
so that's the 60s.
You know, the 60s, and then that's from 2015, that Black Lives Matter piece. But yeah, and especially leading up to the election with this quote and just passing. This project was in progress before. For a while before he died, and it had his blessing, which was really cool. You know, working with a good friend of his was the liaison on the project. But yeah, you can see that.
Just the thickness and the texture of it, I just love it.
And these are cut with the laser, right?
Yeah, that's the laser.
That's some hardcore hand cutting right there.
So, you know, it would be too labor intensive to hand cut all those pieces. I used to incorporate chunks of a retired stencil into the paintings, which is what gave me the idea to build the surfaces like that.
Yeah.
With the laser. But, you know, with an illustration like this, it's originally cut with rubylith, it's already ready to vectorize. And so then to make a stencil using the laser, is just me not having to cut the stencil a second time.
Right.
And you know, the great thing about Illustrator is that you can scan something, vectorize it, and then you can edit those points. And you know what I used to always be self-conscious of when I had one precious original was if I thought I could push it further, but then I pushed it further and messed it up, I couldn't undo that. Once you scan the illustration and I'm pretty happy with where it is, then I can make edits that I can you know, decide to keep or not keep, and that's really freeing in terms of process.
Yeah, one thing I always see in your stuff that I like compared to most skateboard stuff is Ruby isn't the way it's done, and everything's perfect, consistent, parallel lines, and all that kind of thing. It just doesn't have the organic flow. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that pen tool stuff in Illustrator, and there's a slightly different feel to that. I think that the way I cut rubies, the shapes end up being logical for how your hand moves rather than like how a digital tool works. And so I think people can see that even if they aren't conscious of what the difference
like
is.
this, right? Because it's the hand-eye coordination.
Yeah,
You know, there's a sense.
Yeah.
Right when you're at.
With Martha Cooper. In the original, Martha, before she shot a lot of graffiti stuff, she just did stuff of kids playing on the Lower East Side. And in the original of this, it's this kid riding the bumper of the bus, but then, and there's no ad back here, but then I added a spray can in his hand, and because this was shot in the late 70s when disco was the rage, I thought it made sense to do it as if this was a radio station, to listen to the sounds of the people's disco, but then I put the discontent as if the kid you know, spray painted that there. And I think it's like it's a nod to that era, but also to what's going on now with all the unrest around social justice issues. The aesthetic technically, but because this is so organic, you don't notice that it's got that machine element, because it's also, yeah, it's weathered and it's woven in a way that sort of makes sense with the rest of the techniques. But see, these are all laser cut stencils here, and there's a ton of material for collage that we have here. You know, I'm always printing new pattern designs and things like that. Do you have any of the, just like the pattern paste? Well, they're all over there. I'll show you. And then, you know, back here we've got screen printing. These are newer hinges now, but we initially had like my hinges from 1993 on this table.
God.
Used these for years since skateboards.
Yeah, you know, like printing 18 by 24 to 24 by 36 stuff here, and then oversized stuff over here, just one arm squeegee. But that's not for kind of high volume production stuff, it's more for one-off.
Originals.
Yeah, 2-off pieces. Yeah. So you have more torque on the tail to make it that much easier to snap it in that spot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that board. Yeah, I was really psyched when Andy painted his own graphic. shadows so that the shadow side looks really nice and crisp against the lighter background, and the highlight side looks really nice and crisp against the shadow here. Like, you know, a lot of people wouldn't maybe even consider that move, but it makes a big difference in terms of how the figure pushes forward. How meta this print is. You know, this is almost the same composition configuration as the first Warning Addictive print done a year ago for the relaunch of New Deal. But then the prints that New Deal was supposed to actually sign burned in your house, Andy. So the fine art piece that I'd made with all the stencil texture and collage, I decided I could make a new print separating that into a screen print. So now it's got the signature from the original art from 2019, and then it's signed again in pencil for 2020. But you know, I like the, you know, the life cycle story there. It's very similar to what I would do on the street, where I'd put a poster up, somebody would rip at it, and then sometimes I'd photograph it and turn the ripped poster into a print and then put that back out on the street again. So there we go.
Layers upon layers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a pretty insane story and pretty
Styles upon
incredible way. Styles upon styles is what I have.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you for the description.
Sure.
This is our first glance at this, Paul, so this is amazing to see this.
I mean, it's really, it's only one additional color. The original was just the black and yellow. Then this has the cream representing, you know, a lot of the subtleties, but then there's some of that detail that's in, you know, the yellow